Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. That's the first example I could think of. Remember Aunt Vivian and how she was dark skinned at first, and when they replaced her with a light skinned woman, and we were like 3 seasons in deep, guys. Like at that point, like we already got used to dark skinned Vivian, and y'all just switch it out with a light skinned girl who looks nothing like her and just think that we not gonna notice. Like, why couldn't you hire another dark-skinned actress to fill that role? Because I bet you if Aunt Vivian was originally light-skinned, she would never be replaced with a dark-skinned girl as an actress. I've never seen that happen before. I've never seen a light-skinned actress get replaced with a dark-skinned girl. But I've always seen a dark-skinned actress get replaced with a light-skinned actress. It doesn't make any sense. Obviously, the reasons why the woman who was playing Aunt Vivian left has nothing to do with colorism. I believe it was like personal reasons, but them replacing her with a light-skinned girl instead of them replacing her with a dark-skinned girl shows like the way Hollywood is so colorist. Even in My Wife and Kids, the sister in My Wife and Kids, she was originally dark-skinned. And obviously the reasons why that actress left was for personal reasons, but why not replace her with a dark-skinned girl? They replaced the sister with the light-skinned girl instead. Why? Because there are many dark-skinned actresses who could have filled that role. And this is what I'm saying. Like, they act like there's not enough people to fill those roles. There are many dark-skinned actresses out there who could have filled that role. And it's not even just replacing actresses. Like, there will be roles that are meant for dark-skinned women and they'll give it to a light-skinned girl. Like, do y'all remember the Nina Simone movie? Like, Nina Simone, right? She was a real person, okay? And she was a jazz singer in the 1900s. And a big part of Nina Simone's life was the fact that she went through a lot of colorism, texturism, and featureism because she was a dark-skinned girl who did not have features that fit the European beauty standard, okay? She had a very flat nose and, you know, a round face, and she had 4C hair, and she had dark skin. Like, she was pretty much my skin complexion. And that was a big part of her career path as well, and a big aspect of her life. So when they made a biopic to her story and the life of Nina Simone, they chose a light-skinned woman to play the role. A light-skinned woman who looks nothing like Nina Simone. Now, I'm not saying she had to be Nina Simone's clone, but they chose Zoe Saldana. Do you see the difference between Nina Simone and Zoe Saldana? Zoe is like 4 shades lighter than Nina Simone, and she does not have the same facial features as her either. And she doesn't even have 4C hair either. Her hair is like this wig. And you know what they did? They literally put makeup on Zoe that was like 4 shades darker than her regular complexion. And they put a prosthetic nose on her as well so she could have a flat nose instead of a skinny pointy nose. And they made her wear an afro wig just so she could play the role. You mean to tell me you couldn't find a dark-skinned girl with 4C hair and a flat nose to play the role? Because I can name a couple. They're out there. They're not just like hiding in the shadows. They exist. So why choose Zoe to play the role? Because you don't want dark-skinned women to be in the industry that bad, having the limelight, so you choose a woman who's 4 shades lighter than her. And it's like, it's crazy how Nina Simone went through colorism, texturism, and featureism in her real life, and even in her death she goes through it in her biopic. If I was a light-skinned girl and somebody was like, yeah, like, you gotta play Nina Simone, I would have been like, the hell I will. The fuck? No. Like, no. Yeah, a lot of light-skinned actresses, they act like they can't say no to roles. You can say no, especially if it's not for you. Would they ever hire a white person to play a black person in a movie? Why is it that it's wrong for a white person to perform a role that's meant for a black person, but it's okay for a light-skinned person to perform a role that's meant for a dark-skinned person? That doesn't make any sense. Because we all know if there was a role that was meant for a black person and they gave it to a white person and started putting blackface on them, y'all would have an uproar and y'all would be mad as fuck and y'all would be screaming on the internet for days, for months. Like, even with The Hate U Give, The Hate U Give was originally a book, and this book was about police brutality, and it was shedding light on that issue. In the book, the main character was a dark-skinned girl who had an afro, and literally on the cover of the book, she's dark-skinned, like she's darker than me. But in the movie, they chose Amandla Stenberg, a light-skinned girl, and they put braids in her hair instead. And why do you think they did that? They wanted that message to be received by white people. And the best way for white people to receive a message so heavy as police brutality and racism, they had to have a light-skinned girl play that role, because they know if a dark-skinned girl with an afro played that role, white people would have missed the message and they would have just called her ghetto and ratchet and aggressive. But when it's a light-skinned girl, she's already viewed as the more acceptable black person and the more classy black person. So they're more inclined to be receptive of the message, and they're more inclined to watch the movie all the way through without assuming that she's ghetto or she's ratchet, and connecting with her more and understanding that she is just a black woman with emotions dealing with a very real issue. So when you guys say that, like, oh, to white people, we all look the same. No, we don't. Trust me. If you guys watched Hunger Games, but Hunger Games, the character Rue was played by the same actress from The Hate U Give, Amandla Stenberg. And Rue was supposed to be a dark-skinned girl. She was described as a dark-skinned girl in the book. But in the movie, she was light-skinned. She was a very young girl at the time, so I'm not blaming you. Your parents probably like saw the casting and was like, girl, you just gotta do this to start your career. So I'm not blaming you, even though I'm not gonna lie, The Hate U Give, you were old enough to make that decision. But why did they choose a light-skinned woman to play that role instead of a dark-skinned girl? Like I said before, white people watch the Hunger Games. A lot of white people read the Hunger Games. I went to a PWI and every single white kid in my school had that book and they was reading that shit. So they were all going to watch that movie. They would have been more accepting of a light-skinned girl playing a black person in a movie that white people are watching compared to a dark-skinned girl playing a lead role in a movie. It's just as simple as that.